Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Netherkast. We do, in fact, still exist. This is episode 131, and I am your host, Razor. And with me, as usual, are Shad, Jango, and Smokeman. And our subject tonight is the recently released second movie in the MK Legends franchise, the animated films. This is Battle of the Realms. So, who wants to give their review first? I'll go if you're feeling shy.
I mean, we're all in pretty much agreement, I think. It's a 7 out of 10 or so. It's not perfect.
7,
it's
maybe 7.5. I feel like I would rate it the same as the first one numerically, but for different reasons. Is the complicated thing, because it's like...
different reasons are those last 20 minutes.
So obviously, going back to the first one, the biggest problem with it was that it was too short, it was rushed, and the ending was Scorpion-centric, shall we say. I obviously was much, much less upset about that than most of the internet, because I saw what they were doing, where they were trying to give Liu Kang an underdog arc for the next one. But a lot of people are just, they just have this knee-jerk reaction anytime Scorpion is the big guy, Like, they're tired of seeing it, and they get emotional about it. I understand, but I tend to be a little more reasonable.
He has become a bit of a mascot.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because he usually isn't the guy in the stories.
Well, I honestly have felt for a long time that maybe once you get to, like, Quan Chi and Shinnok as the villains, when you're telling stuff like 4, Deadly Alliance, I think that's a good time for Scorpion to be the guy. And, yeah, they tend to do a thing where they don't make him the main guy in the story, but they just give him a lot of screen time anyway. And it tends to feel like it's disjointed, like it doesn't have enough to do with the main plot because of that.
It's a little odd whenever you're sticking Scorpion in there, where he's like... I think a bunch of the problem is, because I don't mind seeing Scorpion. I'll watch him a bunch. He's fine. He's cool. But like when he jumps in and like does something else for another character and kind of cock blocks them...
Yeah, I get that. I get that.
That gets weird. That gets weird.
Like, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me when someone else defeats Goro, because honestly, Liu never gets to defeat Goro in side media. He just has never done it. Like, Johnny Cage beat Goro in the movie. What I think is bothering people is that Goro got killed in one hit from behind.
It's a couple of things, You're always going to have like people who want things to be one-to-one to how the games are, and adaptations. They very rarely do that, and it was a hard blow because we didn't really get at the beginning that they were kind of trying to, as seems to now be the case, like combine elements of later MK games with the original trilogy. It's more understandable now in retrospect, especially after I've seen Battle of the Realms.
Well, you have to understand, and this is going to play a lot into my review of Battle of the Realms too, is that a long time ago I stopped reviewing things based on how far they were from being one-to-one, and I started reviewing things based on whether or not they were closer than MK9. That's my benchmark, and it has been for 10 years.
It can't hurt you anymore, dude. It can't do it.
It's still a worthwhile landmark to compare things to. Like,
I feel like every time you think of MK9 or like the game's cover, all I'm hearing is like soldiers screaming and barking orders, and then the machine guns start, and then you start hearing the first notes of Metallica's One.
Yeah,
and there's like Vietnam flashes and.
Look, Ed Boon has been the Charlie in my trees for a long time. But
anyway, Battle of the Realms.
Yeah, so the thing about Battle of the Realms is that it's similar to Scorpion's Revenge in that it's only an hour and 20 minutes long, and so it is too short, and it is very, very fast-paced. The thing is
dense. There is so much going on in there for its length.
It does include almost everything it needs to in order to be an adaptation of MK2. The problem is that 20 minutes before the end credits, they defeat Shao Kahn and shove in a kaiju battle that didn't need to be there. That's my whole problem with the movie. That dropped
was
that dropped the rating from a 9 to a 7 for me.
Yeah, people were expecting like Scorpion and Sub-Zero versus Shinnok, not everyone versus Kaiju, one being corrupted Shinnok thing.
I mean, yeah, it's
Versus-
basically Power Rangers, right? Like at the end,
Well, and
the
look,
dude grows big, and they call the fucking Dragon Sword, and then they just fight.
It's kind of a yellow Pyron from Darkstalkers.
yeah,
I can't
it's
even see it now.
look, we're all a little tired of Mortal Kombat villains being rock lava men.
Yeah, they don't need.
There's
to be
been a
started off.
lot of rock lava men, like going back to fucking MKDC.
Hopefully, if
I think that at least he looks a little bit better than that.
well, it's just because he has
it's
corrupted
it's not
Shinnok's
regular-
head.
Yeah, I
it's
I
not
like how it
regular
doesn't have
glowing
like
lava.
a mouth or anything like that.
I think the what I'm hoping is that if they're like they made it this way because they only had a deal for 2 movies, and they didn't know if they'd get a third or not. So they're like, well, if this is the end, let's
Kitchen sink this shit.
do the big throw everything in.
And
I
that's-
would not take that approach, but my hope is that if they were to get more, they now have the giant lava man out of their system, and we won't see Blaze or whatever, you know.
Gonna be honest, I wouldn't mind Blaze, but
I
yeah,
would
we've
like
kind of done the giant lava
so
guy.
obviously they included some elements of 3 in this plot, specifically when they're fighting the one being all the realms start to merge. So if they then try to adapt MK3, it's gonna feel like the same but smaller in scale. So it's gonna be weird. So if they
I mean,
decided to
that's the question. Where do you
where do you go?
once you do the one being
Now
and
here's-
like multiple realms combining together?
The thing is that they
They
left
like somehow maybe make like Onaga out to be a bigger threat if possible.
Yeah, they left Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn alive at the end to leave room for 3 to happen. It's just you're gonna have to change the crux of 3 from merging Earth and Outworld to something like maybe. So Liu
I
Kang
would say-
freed Edenia at the end of this, so maybe you do include elements of Armageddon. Maybe whatever Shao Kahn does in the third one causes the pyramid to rise, now that Edenia is free. But I'd like them to find a way to do the Pyramid of Argus without Blaze, because I don't need a second lava man. That's all I'm saying.
I feel they could do a thing where instead of doing it on Earth, they could resurrect Sindel and Edenia.
Sure, yeah. I'm just saying,
But,
like,
wouldn't-
whatever Shao Kahn does. So, Mortal Kombat being Mortal Kombat, you have to do the trilogy characters. If they do a third one, it's pretty much mandatory that it includes Sindel, Nightwolf, and Cabal. Also, Molina was supposed to be in this one, but got cut for time. You can see her concept art in the special features.
And her name.
She pretty much looks like her MKX design.
If things go as
which-
they have been, you can probably
so-
expect Jarek to show up and
Well,
get killed
one
by
of the things they said in the commentary is that a scene that got cut for time was they were going to have a stinger at the end, which would be Shang Tsung with an army of Molina clones.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Dude, I'm
I
honestly
don't
kinda
know if they
glad-
would have done an army or if it would have just been a shot in the flesh pits with all the different like tries to make Molina and only one comes out. You know, it's just it was gonna be Shang, flesh pits, bunch of cloning tubes with Molinas in them.
I think
That's fine.
I'm
As
honestly
long as
kind
there's like
of.
only one running around.
I'm happy that Molina's not in this movie because I feel like if they're pulling a lot of design stuff from X, and if I have to see the lips in these fucking movies, that would actually like kind of ruin the whole thing for me.
You know,
I have a feeling that with all the love that they have towards the old school character designs, they probably give her proper mouth.
I don't have that much faith.
I think they would have done the lips, but I would actually, monkey's paw, if it means that they ignore 11 and they don't include any of 11 in any of the movies, I'll take that if it means the trade-off is I have to see the lips. Because it's a lot of bad versus one bad thing, I don't need to see anything to do with Chronica in these fucking movies. Just leave the lore, Elder Gods and One Being, the way it should be.
I think that considering that Cetrion is not among the Elder Gods, that's already a good sign that they were not going to do the 11 shit anyway.
Yeah, they would have had to... They'd have to do some serious retconning at this point to shove 11...
Okay, let's talk about, what bad things the movie could go and does not. Let's talk about what it was, because there was some really good shit here. We said that there was a lot of good stuff about, how... This is the first time we've gotten a proper adaptation of Mortal Kombat 2, literally fucking anywhere.
Yeah, this is the first time Kentaro has ever been in anything outside the games and comic books. This is the first time he's ever been in any animated medium at all.
And we
so
do
that
get a
alone is
little bit of
special.
MK3.
We get a
little bit of MK3 as well, because the Cyber Initiative storyline, despite what 9 would have you believe, was kind of an post-2 thing. Initially they came back to their clan after the events in Outworld, and it's like, oh god, now they're all robots, and now Smoke is a robot too.
I mean, for me...
They do manage to make it work very well.
Yeah, I think it really fits the context of what's going on in the movie. I think in some ways... Maybe having them go to robots immediately after Bihan doesn't come back makes a lot more sense, Because there's this element of he was our best guy, and our best isn't good enough in the modern age. We need to upgrade, And that's sort of, that's the crux of the Cyber Initiative in the first place. Is you need to be faced with evidence that magic ninjas aren't good enough for the 21st century, and it's time to adapt to technology existing. But for me, I'll take anything where you get straight to Cyber Smoke, right? I have never had any interest in human Smoke. You guys all know that. And I'll be honest.
It's good either way, I think.
I'll be honest.
It is good.
The Cyber Ninja parts of the movie are my favorite parts of the movie, and most of that is because of Smoke. I have always said that nobody really can argue Sector and Cyrax are three-dimensional characters, right? That's not what they were. When they were created, they were literally just NPCs story-wise. They had no personalities. They were just mindless robots that chased Sub-Zero. The point of the Cyber Initiative story was always to see what happens to Sub-Zero and Smoke, not to give a shit about Sector and Cyrax. So any adaptation where Smoke doesn't become a robot, like certain recent canon video games, no bueno.
I think that's bullshit.
I am absolutely not here for painting Cyrax as a guy who had to be captured and forced. I'm not down for that. That's not what it was. Okay? He signed up, and then in 4 he regretted it. That's different than trying to. You can't make everybody the guy who runs away and gets caught. It's just Sub-Zero and Smoke.
According to the wording of the MK3 bios, Sector volunteered.
Sector?
Cyrax was selected, but he didn't say no.
He didn't say no.
Volunteer for it. That's the difference. And there's an aspect of the Cyber Ninja thing you're missing.
Yeah, no means
the difference between Cyrax, Sector, and Smoke is that they also served, this is kind of a read between the lines thing, to show you kind of how much of yourself that you put into the program leads to different results. Sector, by the point of Armageddon, was basically a complete robot. Cyrax didn't say no to it, but he still kind of struggled. His personality kept on coming out, whereas Smoke was the one who rejected it wholeheartedly and he had the most virulent response. Sub helps him get his soul back, and by the time of Deception, like even under Noob Saibot's control, he's still fritzing out in the Netherrealm because his soul is so good, it's not supposed to be there. And I always felt that was a very important distinction between three of them.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that, like, the modern interpretation of Cyrax as having been against it from the start, and it being so horrifying to him that he keeps committing suicide. First of all...
No, that was something that they painted onto Cyrax that was once Smoke's.
Yeah, that was never there, and it's not appropriate. It's completely stealing Smoke's story from him and leaving him without one. And B, it's completely misrepresenting Cyrax, because he was cool with being, like... He never had a problem with the technology being grafted on him in, like, Deadly Alliance when he's working for the Special Forces. It wasn't about blah, 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 chi. Like, a guy who has no superpowers bitching about how it'll deaden his fucking fighting instincts. Fuck that. That doesn't make sense. The Cyrax was a loyal soldier who was asked to join the program and went along with it, and then afterward realized, oh, it actually sucks not having a soul. Can I get that back, please? I'm cool with the fucking buzzsaw coming out of my chest. I would just like to have a soul.
He was the middle guy.
Yes, he's the middle guy. You can't just go guy who likes it, guy who runs away, guy who runs away, guy who runs away. That's not how the fucking... They each need to be different from each other.
Okay, but we're doing that thing where we talk about Nine's faults, and let's not.
Yeah. Right, well, I'm just explaining why it's so... Honestly, it's a little bit surprising to me to see something adapt Cyber Smoke now. Like, I've always had a fear that stuff 9 changed would become the permanent way things are. And this gives me a little hope that no future adaptations will default to Smoke is supposed to be a cyborg, because I believe that's the way it absolutely should be. The
reason I was so very on board with Smoke with Smoke not going through the process in 9 was that I had hope that they were going to put him to good use in the future and expand that spectral origin that they gave him, which I really appreciated, because there should be some reason he's constantly emitting smoke. There should be that elemental... Hang on. Okay. There should be that elemental quality to him that's an equal of Sub-Zero's. So I was very glad when they gave him that. But they fucked it up by killing him and not fucking doing anything with him.
Yeah, he's still down there.
But if that's how it's going to be,
sure,
then yeah, I will take the original story.
Well, here's my thing, is that MK9, if it were just an Elseworld, a what if, there are a lot of fascinating things you can explore in a what if, as long as you don't completely abandon the mainstream universe.
We're doing it again.
Like, I'm It's important.
Okay, no, seriously. I just wanted to get across my point, like why, I don't think Nine Smoke's a bad idea, but it is refreshing. It is nice to actually see, for the first time ever, an adaptation of the story that, fucking made us all love Smoke in the first place. This isn't me turning him into a robot's a bad idea. No, this is me they fucking did it. Now a whole new generation of people gets to see that storyline. And yeah, I was worried that the 9 view of things would be the default too, but I'm glad it doesn't necessarily seem to have to be the case.
I just want Smoke to have something to fucking do.
Well, that's my point.
After
is
MK2
that
or 3, like robot or human, just
without
use him,
without the robot stuff, he never has anything to do. Like, we've never, granted, seen them try to tell a story about him exploring his Enenra origins. But I honestly think that the old timeline was closer to doing that than the new timeline would have gotten anyway, because the old timeline has the Cyber Ninja end up in the Netherrealm and shows him transforming into the fucking Cyber Demon, the smoke-bodied robot, the Deception costume. I feel like that's better at exploring the Enenra thing than, I don't know, the Revenant shit. Because how can he...
evolves over time.
Like, the Cyber Ninja can break free of its programming, and has multiple times. We've never seen a Revenant just will themselves back to being a good guy. They can't think for themselves. It's story death. There's no future in a Revenant.
But back to
Battle of the Realms.
Yeah, so there are a lot of elements of the way they told the Cyber Ninja, particularly the beginning scene where Smoke is captured, that are very close to the way I always imagined it in my head. And I know Shad and I have talked about that while we were watching the thing.
My fucking jaw dropped. Like, the whole scene where the Grandmaster announces that Cyrax and Sector are like, this is the future of the Lin Kuei, and then they both come out. That is basically almost exactly the way that I pictured it, save for the fact that I figured it would be at a general Lin Kuei assembly.
Yeah, you and I both agreed on this. We both sort of imagined that there would have been like a big gathering, and the Grandmaster would have introduced the Cyber Ninjas, and then like Sub-Zero and Smoke would have been somewhere in the crowd, like they give each other a look and slowly back out of the room or something,
Yeah, pretty much.
And I think that's how Defenders of the Realm did it. Like, the Grandmaster had Sector and Cyrax come out to a crowd and like do a weapons demonstration, like they were shooting missiles at statues and vases or something like that, and Sub-Zero and Smoke were like up in the rafters watching in secret, and then they ran away. So in my head, it's always been like a combination of that Defenders of the Realm episode and this. So the fact that it was a lot of elements were so close to what I always imagined were really satisfying, and I think that for me that drives the score up. And I think maybe younger generations of viewers, like I've seen a lot of harsh and hyperbolic reviews out on the internet from I think younger fans who maybe don't appreciate the same parts of Mortal Kombat than I do.
Like, yeah, there's some.
Listen here, you little shit.
Feelings. Let's,
Well, just today in Jango's Matrix trailer review that he just put out, we had somebody in the comments who's like, "I can't wait to hear Razor rip apart Battle of the Realms." I'm sorry, buddy. I liked the fucking movie.
There's more than one of those comments now.
I think you gotta stop having. Look, and I know this is a little bit hypocritical coming from me, but you don't always have to be so extreme in your opinions all the time. There's room for a middle ground.
I think people who are out there saying that there's nothing to enjoy in this movie are super hyperbolic, and I question them being MK fans, in my opinion.
Well, there's a
Y'all
lot of
fucking dumb. That's all I gotta say. If you can't find a single thing to like about this movie, I don't know what's wrong with you, man.
Like,
you deserve the first time ever.
I don't
fucking.
That's not
okay. It's not
like
it was,
those people deserve to be gatekeeped. Okay.
Okay, look.
I don't want to hang around people like that.
Next point. Yes, Kung Lao died again, and it fucking sucks. We're gonna get to that. Yes, Stryker also died. But you had to know Stryker was gonna die the second they took the layman MK3 character and put him into MK2.
Stryker got to do cool shit in this movie, and he served his purpose. He served his narrative purpose too. He's there to be the every guy that can't believe that what's happening is happening.
But he lost his head.
I know that people hate it when their fan favorites die, but the alternative is to have one of the big bits of stigma that we had about the original timeline, where it's a game series that goes on for like decades and nobody fucking dies in Mortal Kombat. Someone's gotta bite it. However, I totally understand the people who are upset about Kung Lao dying. It would have been nice at least if he'd gotten a bit of time with Liu Kang first and foremost.
Yeah, I think it would have helped, because here's the thing. Grievance. Here's the thing is that the reason Kung Lao died is the same reason Lao dies in everything he dies in. He's died in MK3, He died at the end of Deadly Alliance, beginning of Deception, for a different reason, actually, so that does break the pattern. But the way he dies in 3, the way he dies in 9, the way he dies in the 2021 movie, it's always the same reason. Kung Lao was created to be the women in refrigerators for Liu Kang. He's supposed to die in order to motivate the real main character to get mad because he's his best friend and fight harder and beat Shao Kahn. That's
to me.
The reason Smoke gets turned into a robot.
That is unfortunately
character.
To me, it's funny at this point.
Unfortunately, that is the purpose of Kung Lao and has been since 1995.
You know what the funny thing about this is? Granted, in MK3, 4 tells us he faked his own death.
Well, that was...
But because of that fake out, because of that excuse to get the character back into the game, you got like one of the only proper bits of development for him where he puts his grievances with Goro aside.
Yeah, I mean, I personally,
only,
I
like,
would prefer to see the Kung Lao who gets to the point where he's like, I'm sick of fighting, I'm going to choose a life of peace, I'm going to find another way to settle my grudges. That is the Kung Lao I prefer, and MK4 Gold is really the only time we've ever seen it.
But in this movie, he dies.
Yeah, in this movie, he died. The sad thing is, he dies to piss off Liu Kang, but it didn't need to be there, because Raiden dying to piss off Liu Kang is far more effective. Because...
Yeah, they could have crippled him.
Because they actually give, like, Liu Kang and Raiden scenes together, and a relationship.
For all this movie rushes through a lot of shit, though, Raiden got some good treatment.
Yeah, that's
yes, he did.
Really well
one of my favorite things about this series, Scorpion's Revenge and Battle of the Realms, is their take on Raiden. I have made no secret over the years that I absolutely despise the Ed Boon concept of Raiden, where Christopher Lambert was out of character. He's supposed to be stoic and boring. I can't do it. I can't have any more fucking Richard Epcar in my fucking ears. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm
that
done.
is not good. He sucks. I agree.
This version of this version of Raiden has.
It was bad.
You didn't? Not this one?
No, the whole deal with him giving up his powers and shit was really weird.
He did that in MK1, 2,
trilogy,
and
though.
3. He did it in a
But, like, he didn't even have any powers at all after he did that, which he did. He maintained some of them, as the characters do usually.
I do think
he did a Superman torpedo.
He did do a
yeah,
Superman
he does still
thing.
have the
So I was
torpedo.
like, was that just a human ability that Raiden had when he was a warrior?
Well, look,
Like
Kano can curl into a ball and fly.
He do. He do.
I do think it's weird how he doesn't get to have any other like powers after that, you know?
Well,
like,
I understood narratively why they made that choice, because they wanted to establish that Raiden isn't the best fighter once he becomes immortal, and Liu Kang can see it and is worried about him. I think that's a necessary part of the story, and I actually really like it.
It's one of those things where it's like, man, you take the Thunder God out of the Thunder God, you're
that's
killing a lot of his cool shit.
That's the thing. He
Like,
does all of his moves before he gives up the powers. We got to see it all in there.
On the one hand, you're taking the Thunder God.
Raiden gives up his powers, but we see more of his special moves than we do of Johnny Cage's. All right.
Because of the fact that, like, he's, often sitting there as a god in the modern telling of things, you don't get to see him have martial arts fights, because you're supposed to go in with this view of him that he's beyond all of that he's like a one-shot kill cut. He could stop anyone, he could curb stop anyone, and this is why you never see Raiden get into one-on-one martial arts fights using Kung Fu the way he does here. And if having him ditch his immortality is a trade-off that's necessary for that, I'll take it. It's been way too long since I've seen Raiden get into a fist fight, and having him and Reiko go at it the way they did, really, really good payoff. I love that moment. It was brutal.
I was really happy with Raiden's fights in this. And again, we've seen this before. We've seen it.
I didn't hate his fight. That's true.
It was one of the core plot points in fucking Annihilation. Raiden gave up his powers. He had to kung fu fight some reptiles, and then Shao Kahn killed him to piss off Liu Kang and push him to win.
Never give up hope.
And then Raiden comes back at the end somehow.
Pupils and shit. Like, Aftermath fucked me over with that shit, and then it happened again. I don't want to see Raiden's pupils, man. It looks weird.
I think it looked better in this than it did in 11,
it would definitely
at least.
look better than after Arbor.
Well, look, I maintain the reason the pupils look weird isn't because of the pupils themselves. It's because of his cowl. When he has that fucking cowl on, it does something to the shape of his face. I think Raiden with pupils in his eyes would look way more natural if he just let his hair down.
It looks worse in still shots than when it's in motion. When it's in motion and you're watching the movie, you don't really notice it halfway as much.
There's also a thing where, in this movie, the way they animate his face with the pupils, it's kind of, like, cute. Like, it's very, like, expressive and empathetic in, like, an anime girl kind of way.
His eyes are kind of wide and almost kawaii.
Yeah,
oh God,
yeah.
I that shit really, really bugged me. But it didn't bug me anywhere near as much as it bugged D4. D4 is one of his worst things ever. Seeing pupils on the gods. He loves wide eyes, dude. It's like,
oh God, that is one of his fucking pet peeves, man.
He died. He
fucking hates when characters that have, like, white or colored pupils get, like, normal, like, human pupils. It pisses him off so much.
You know, Shang was never supposed to have pupils, and yet it's been the norm now for how long? We all just got used to it, but we should never get used to it with Raiden.
Interesting. Like, Carrie looked really good with, being a pupil to Shang, and it shows that you can do that. Same with Christopher Lambert. Like, there is versions of it that works, but like sometimes
it sort of depends on the facial features. The thing with Shang for me is that I like it when the old man version of him has, like, you can tell that the eyes are white because it's a cataracts thing, and that is something that is something they do in this movie. Where both like Shang Tsung, because he's still in old man form, they didn't do the getting younger storyline. He has, like, grayed out faded pupils. I really like how they did that, and I also like how they did Sub-Zero's eyes, where they're like they have those same faded out pupils because he's got, like, these glassy blue Deadly Alliance eyes. I really like how they did that.
Yeah,
it makes me smile when little aesthetics like that from the old days are.
The funny thing though is the way it pisses off D4 when guys whose eyes should be white have pupils. It pisses me off when guys who should have pupils have white eyes. Like, why doesn't Smoke have pupils?
Yeah,
I thought that was a little weird, especially because they do this, like, close up shot. Like, when Sector and Cyrax, like, do the Borg nanoprobes into his face when they're capturing him, it does an extreme close-up on one of his eyes bulging out as the circuit patterns grow over his eyeball. I feel like that shot would have been stronger if he had, like, a dilating pupil as he was panicking, you know?
It is a bit odd. Like,
instead of just a solid white.
Smoke's had pupils and everything except for the fucking original Malibu comic. I eventually got used to it. I didn't think about it until just now.
Yeah, it just seems weird. It always makes me wonder how the artists on each thing decide what to make the characters' eyes look like, because there are characters who change every single game. Like, why aren't Shinnok's eyes green anymore? Who made that decision?
Like,
why aren't Reiko's eyes blue all the time? Who made the decision to change that? What's the logic? I'd just like to know what people are thinking when they make these choices. I think it would be interesting to get inside their heads and understand the thought process. Because
I'm just happy they're consistent with gods having white eyes in the game. Like, they are so inconsistent with so many things, but like Raiden and Fujin, they're just like, okay, they have white eyes, that's good. That should be a thing. But then he loses them.
I would like to, on the topic of Smoke and the Cyber Ninjas, mention how fucking wonderful it is that they all feel like machines rolled off an assembly line.
Oh yeah,
There's no
the voice that they got.
You know, there have been.
Yeah,
I'm
did
not
like their
sure if their voices, once they were all robots, were a single voice actor, or if like Smoke's VA was still Smoke's VA, it just had a filter that made it sound the same as Sector. But the fact that they all sound alike, the fact that they're all using the same moves, like, I know that bothered some people that Sector shoots a net and Cyrax shoots missiles at one point, but I like the idea. I've always kind of believed in my head, going way back to 95, that they all do have access to the same bombs and missiles. They just choose not to because of gameplay. It's really for gameplay purposes. Like,
it's gameplay.
Yeah, like we saw right there in 3 that Smoke has Cyrax's bombs in his chest.
Exactly.
These guys, the point of the Cyber Initiative was to make a standardized perfect soldier. So why would they all be different?
But it doesn't make sense in terms of, like, first it has to be for the game, and for the game it's like if the only difference is their colors, that's not good.
Well, yeah.
For
a game, characters need to play different from each other to give you a reason to choose one over the other and have a personal preference. I understand that.
Like when combat feeds back into the character and seems appropriate for that.
But story-wise, I do believe that if Cyrax wanted to, he has homing missiles. And if Sector wanted to, he could shoot a net.
I would laugh so hard if this were just down to, like, animation miscommunication, and they actually thought that the red one was the one that threw the nets, and that the yellow one was the one that threw the missiles. It was just a giant mistake. That'd be entertaining.
To be honest, like,
either way, I don't care. This
is a recurring thing for me. I really dislike how often characters, like, swap abilities and stuff in this movie. It gets really, really, really weird. And roles. But we can talk more about that later. Go for it.
Well, so one of the things that I really liked about the way the Cybers were portrayed, shared moves notwithstanding, is how strong they made them. Like, they really do have that. They do have that unstoppable, you should be scared and running like it's the Terminator and you're Sarah Connor quality to them, and I fucking love the way they did that. And the way they animated their fight scenes, like, I love how often they use the rockets in their hands and feet to accelerate a punch or kick. I think that's... It feels like they're hitting you with the force of a truck.
Like, they really beat the shit out of Scorpion. It's fucking cool.
They were playing pinball with him. He was literally being knocked into the air and down like it was a Marvel vs. Capcom game. It was entertaining as shit.
And then conversely, when it is time for them to get their asses beat by the demons at the end of the movie, I really, really like the touch that we see from Cyrax's point of view, and his vision can't see the magic black smoke they're all teleporting out of. Like, this demonic magic beats technology. It's a hard counter. I think that was a clever thing to do. So
what do you think of Kuai Liang, actually? I want to bring up, because we're sitting here, like, splooging about how great the Cyber Ninja aesthetics and all that are, but this was our introduction to Kuai Liang. I had someone on Twitter tell me that they were very disappointed with the movie because Kuai Liang doesn't kill anyone.
Fucking what?
Now,
that's a dumb reason. Dude, come on, all the reasons you dislike them, you go with that. Come on, man.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, that's somebody who doesn't know the fucking character.
I told him that, like, respectfully, I'm like, the difference between Bi-Han and Kuai Liang is that the older one does not give a shit about who he kills, he will murder for money. The younger one will kill when it's necessary and would prefer to avoid doing it whenever possible. And even here, in the heat of his anger, he makes the right choice. I liked the way they did him in this movie.
God, they just gave him Scorpion's whole fucking deal, and Scorpion's doing that shit again. Fucking taking the better parts of that shit. I think such, like, over the top hothead of this shit. It's like, man, he total bitch and, like, really stupid. It was so weird. It was so fucking weird.
That he was so angry?
I'm so, like, angry to the point of tunnel vision and not paying attention to anything else but the rage, which is, again, like,
I think
it's weird because he's doing it to Scorpion, and then Scorpion now gets the benefit of being like, no, wait, Kuai Liang, let us talk. Let's do this shit. Like,
I feel
weird.
like
I
that
mean, it
was
does-
really weird.
that was necessary because so the
It was
moment that
necessary
it's all building up to,
to make this the Scorpion verse.
the moment that it's all building up to, where Scorpion says, "I have done bad things, and I admit that, and I deserve to die, and it would be fitting if you were the one who did it. Go ahead," and hands him the ice knife. And the speech he gives about how knowing from experience that revenge can eat you up inside and that it's not the right path. That moment is something that I would put in my own telling of MK2. Like, I would have Scorpion say that to Sub-Zero. So the fact that they did it obviously means a lot to me, because it's like, great minds think alike. And I
If
think
that was fucking Kuai Liang in Mortal Kombat from MK2, I probably wouldn't even be that big of a Sub-Zero fan. I really fucking hate that shit.
Well, here's the difference, though, is that, like, obviously, in the original MK2, Sub-Zero didn't even know who killed his brother, and that wasn't even his mission.
Like,
he wasn't trying to find out. He was just giving him, look, your brother was supposed to kill Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung is still alive. We need you to finish the mission. And then at the tournament, he happened to run into Scorpion in the bracket. And canonically, if you pay attention to the arcade endings, Scorpion fought Sub-Zero in the bracket, beat him, and let him live. And didn't tell him why. And Sub-Zero was sitting there thinking, should I be chasing that guy? Because he killed my brother. But also, he just beat me, so I'm not sure I would win that fight. I don't know what to do.
That was much more thoughtful than anything he did in this movie.
But the thing of it is,
Also,
that's a little complicated for the audience. I feel like you need Scorpion to say out loud to Sub-Zero, this is why I'm not killing you, and this is why you shouldn't chase me, and I'm sorry about your brother, but this is why you should let it go.
I mean, that's...
I think in order for that speech to mean more, you do have to make Sub-Zero more actively in pursuit of his brother's killing.
You have to retard him a little bit.
I'm in favor of it because of a few reasons.
Cock-blocking people all the fucking time in these movies. Any good qualities that
Well,
people have,
look,
Scorpion jumps in there. It's like, nope, I'll do this, and
the
you can
problem
be
is-
the rage hothead.
That's the thing. Scorpion I know, Razor doesn't like to hear it, but through MK1 through 4, that is largely what he was. He was angry guy. He was constantly angry. He was nothing but angry. He joined Shao Kahn because Shao Kahn invades hell during MK3. I have nothing to do. Want to work for me? Okay. Wait, hang on. The guy that I promised not to kill is on the other side. I'm turning against you. Okay, fine. Literally the next year. Hey, you know that guy who didn't kill your didn't kill your family? Yeah, he killed your family. Son of a bitch, I'm angry again. That's Scorpion. Like, he was angry all the time. Just constantly. Working for the wrong people, making the wrong decisions, and he was rage face. And this flies in the face of that. It gives him more dimensions. And as far as Sub-Zero being angry for his brother goes, that was an MK9 invention. That was never an MK1
Technically, it was
or
in
2.
Shaolin Monks
MK2.
first.
We don't count that one. They didn't even know that, like, that someone was dead. He just never came back. They just sent Sub along to find out what the fuck happened to his brother, but primarily to finish the mission. I think it does make a lot of sense for him to be angry over the death of his older brother. I can't hold this against them. Out of all the things 9 introduced, I never had a problem with that. It gave him more of a connection. It made him feel less detached from his family.
I believe strongly in
doing it this way I think doing it this way is a favor to both characters. That's all I'm saying.
I think that there's a lot of storytelling is cause and effect. Once you set something up, you have to follow through, and if you don't follow through, that's when the story turns bad. So, as much as we're like, oh, it's not one-to-one to this from the source material, like, this is an element where I don't actually care about that for once. Like, the idea... of how you get Sub-Zero and Scorpion to interact with each other in a telling of MK2, that depends entirely on why Bi-Han was at the tournament in the first one. If you're not gonna do he was hired to kill Shang Tsung, you have to do Shang Tsung hired the Lin Kuei to take out their own side in the tournament. Because these are mercenaries, they will do that for money, they don't have morals. That's what made Kuai Liang different, is he's the only Lin Kuei who has morals.
But
Him
now
and
he's
maybe
lost
Smoke.
Him
and maybe Smoke.
That's
But-
the thing that I always say with like Elseworld shit. You can fucking change the nurture, but not the nature of the characters.
Right, but
And
so
fucking Kuai Liang is a completely different character.
But here's my point. Is that if you don't do the mission to kill Shang Tsung isn't finished, then you have to come up with a different reason for Kuai Liang to get involved in the plot.
You do.
Going
It's funny
after
to me
his
because
brother's
if-
killer makes sense.
It's like there's ways to develop a character that doesn't come at the expense of other characters, and I thought the MKX did that really fucking well for Scorpion.
Well, I just
but
think,
here,
look,
it's
at the
him,
end
like,
of the day, we're still getting a Kuai Liang who's young and untested, and at the end of the day, he doesn't kill anybody.
I mean, but it's not about
makes-
killing. Killing isn't that important. People die all the time.
my point is that, like, it's still the same character, even if he has, like, this emotional lapse in judgment, as long as he doesn't follow through with it in the end. As long as he gives up the desire to kill Scorpion, and they work together as a team, you're still
depends on
getting
what
to the
his-
same endpoint. It's still the same character.
What happens whenever he is still in tunnel vision mode? Whatever happens negatively that's going on around them, how much, fucking whatever happens. If that comes at the cost of him still doing shit, and bad shit happens because he just wasn't focused, he was just trying to selfishly get his revenge. That's not something that ends the same. That's not something that ends at the same point.
I don't believe anything Kuai Liang did caused them to fail to protect the Kamidogu, though.
No, I don't either.
So you don't really. I mean, the complaint.
This game,
kind of doesn't go anywhere.
This thing is. It would be different if this was an isolated incident, but there's just so many instances of places where Scorpion takes something that another character did away from them, and he does it. And again, that's what I'm saying about character growth can totally happen, and you can make it good.
Right, but my point is,
detracting from
I don't
other
believe
characters.
that has happened here. I don't believe
I don't-
Scorpion
same
has
with
taken a
Goro.
moment from Sub-Zero, because in the original timeline, the moment was Scorpion still did all the same stuff. Sub-Zero was just neutral instead of angry.
It's still the same thing he did with Goro in the first one.
I don't agree with that. I think Scorpion being the one to say don't choose revenge is a thing that would have happened in the original MK2, and I think that again in my the fanfic bullshit I write is very focused on telling the original timeline version of things, and I still have a scene at the second tournament where instead of just fucking off without explaining why I'm not going to kill you, Scorpion says, "Hey, here's why I killed your brother. Don't be like me, though. It ends badly." And then he fucks off.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think there's a moment like that Sub does in MK2.
Yeah,
Like,
he hasn't had anything
doesn't
taken from him.
ever,
It's
He doesn't spare Scorpion's life. He loses that fight.
Scorpion watches him spare someone else, and that's where he's like, oh, this isn't the dude that killed me at all. I guess I really did murder that guy.
Like, Kuai
Violent.
Liang is essentially still the same character to me.
He's just a little bit
Fucking
more upset.
Scorpion. Jesus.
How?
He's hella Scorpion.
He's just a little bit more upset, and he's got a good reason to be.
look, he's only mad temporarily. That's what makes him not Scorpion.
And this is also the beginning of his journey. This
Yeah,
is him
exactly.
starting to show the maturity and the emotional depth that his brother never had, that are qualities that will eventually lead him to become the Grand Master.
Again, like I
Right,
said,
and here's-
it would be different if these character things didn't come at the expense. They're giving them specifically to Scorpion.
Hang on,
Sub-Zero has to change to give him to give.
I still don't agree
Scorpion
that anything has
the
been
high
given
road.
or taken or is different.
And it's still the same
Hang
in
on,
Mortal Kombat 1 too. He's done this several times. Not Mortal Kombat 1. I'm sorry, the first movie.
What exactly is Scorpion getting that someone else is?
He's getting like the reasonable, cool-headed role when with Kuai Liang, and Kuai Liang instead being the one that's just
And
hell-bent on
I
business.
maintain that Scorpion was reasonable and cool-headed in the original MK2. Like, I
Yeah,
fundamentally
I-
disagree with
that's
Shad's
something
claim that
that
he's angry 4 games in a row.
I've never read it like that with the originals, but they're vague enough to where you can do that. So that's definitely a thing. But to
They
me,
did say
how
in
Scorpion
2 he
acted
was
was how Kuai Liang should be.
I mean, John Tobias's
And vice
comic
versa.
even skips over the tournament fight and has Scorpion come onto the scene saying, "I regret killing Bihan. I'm going to protect his brother."
That's fine, but it didn't come at the expense of making Kuai Liang.
Expressing
hothead.
regret is what Scorpion's doing in all of these versions. That's the reasonable and cool-headed thing.
I'd say there's a major difference between being a hothead and wanting to kill someone because they murdered your brother. Smoke going off fucking half-cocked in MK9 going, you must be, I don't know, like, no, evil Princess Katana, blah! Wait, no, that's not, no. That's hot-headed behavior. Smoke in MK9 was a
It also
hothead.
seemed like, I don't know. He also came off as just kind of dumber because of it. Like,
He is a
didn't-
rookie.
shouldn't he
He
like
is-
be asking? I feel like Kuai Liang would ask more questions and want to know more of what's going on in the circumstances behind. If he actually doesn't understand all the circumstances behind Bihan's brother, but he also knows fucking Bihan, and that he takes that into consideration as well. Not that changes how he feels about it or that he's happy that his brother died. Absolutely not. But he's less just coming in with anger.
I think
vengeance
the
on his
fact that he's sort of not asking, "Hey, what's that glowing circle that the robots are trying to get?" fits the message of revenge is a poison. I think again, you have to play it for the cheap seats sometimes. You have to realize your audience, the average person is a little bit dumb, so you have to kind of exaggerate traits. So in order
Just
for Scorpion's
subscribers.
in order for Scorpion's message of revenge is bad, don't be like me, to hit home as hard as possible, Sub-Zero needs to be experiencing ways in which the pursuit of revenge is bad. And again, like there are elements of that scene where they're fighting in the Kamidogu chamber, and Scorpion gives the "No, let's be friends" speech that are how I imagined something similar always went down in MK2, and it's just like the reason my favorite scenes in the movie are the ones with the Lin Kuei Temple and the Cyber Initiative being introduced. This is another one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because it's so close to something I always pictured since the fucking mid-90s. And that's just how I feel. Other people have different images in their head of how the old games played out when they were kids.
I've always maintained I never thought that Scorpion was particularly multi-dimensional throughout the first couple of games.
I mean,
intent might have
MK2
been
is
there,
the
but-
one where
but-
I
but it
became
never-
a Scorpion fan, so that's what I cling to, is the...
MK2 was kind of the exception to the rule. I was never a fan of, especially MK4 is the one that makes him look bad.
Well, yeah.
Easily manipulated, dumb, quick to
And
anger.
that's one of the reasons I like Scorpion's Revenge so much, is it got Quan Chi out of the fucking way. It did the MK4 story at the beginning instead of repeating the same beats from 1 over again the way 4 originally did.
I
Yeah.
didn't find Scorpion that interesting as like outside of gameplay stuff and fun and whatever. He's a cool looking ninja. All that stuff is true, but I wasn't really interested in his own character and his personality and his arcs and whatever until MKX.
Well, again, we've
He is one
done
of
so
few
many
people that I
episodes
think's
where
been-
like, what's your favorite characters? And obviously, my top 5 is always Kuai Liang, Noob Saibot, Smoke, Scorpion, and Liu Kang. But before Deadly Alliance, Sub-Zero wasn't on the list. My favorite characters were Scorpion and Liu Kang. Like, it was at the point of MKDA where I started really appreciating all of the growth and development Kuai Liang had gone through. Scorpion got his growth first in MK2, and that's why I latched on to him. Maybe he got a little too early, and that's why they went backwards.
We should probably circle back around to the movie itself, because we've dwelt on the surface for quite some time now. So, Lee May's a thing in this movie.
Briefly.
Yeah, a lot of people out there are not happy with that.
I liked that Shoryuken. It was nice.
Did she do it? I only remember her throwing out some kunai.
Oh, wait, was that Jade that got Dragon Punch?
Jade got a big red screen uppercut, and it surprises me how many people thought Jade was dead. It's just an uppercut. None of her body parts come off. Why would you think she's dead?
I mean, it was a hell of a Dragon Punch.
Also, I know a lot of people didn't catch it, but her and Reiko are both visible later in the movie when Kitana turns on Shao Kahn. So neither of them died. Reiko and Jade are both perfectly fine.
If anyone in the tournament bled out, it was Kentaro. He got the worst of it.
Kintaro's probably Kintaro's probably the only fight in round 1 that ends in a fatality. Everybody else, I'm sure, survived. Devora looked like she was still alive and looking up at Sonya while Sonya said, "He's not my boyfriend." Baraka gets his face smashed in the ground, but he's in the movie late. Like, I'm pretty sure it's Baraka who dies at the end when Johnny and Sonya shove the grenade in his mouth.
I forgot about that nuts line.
Yeah, I think
she talked about my nuts.
No, Reiko, Devora, and Lee May are okay. They're unconscious with their mouths wide open. They're not actually dead. It's all about just making the effect of the last hit.
There's a lot of people who pass out with their eyes open in the first round.
I mean, like, it's an understandable thing to think that they're dead, but no.
I mean, even if
they're not.
Like, it's Mortal Kombat, you know?
Right? It's Mortal Kombat. You're not dead unless body parts come off. That's the
Molina's
rule.
in this goddamn Mortal Kombat 11 game right now. Like,
in fact, sometimes if body parts come off, you're still alive. Look at Jax.
So they're alive.
Yeah. So regarding the tournament stuff, because we've talked a lot about the Lin Kuei Scorpion stuff. Okay, let's talk about how the movie starts, actually. With it's a take on the Wuxi Academy attack that's always started MK2. But they say in this movie that Outworld is actually attacking a lot of places around the world off-screen.
Oh, it's like that Shaolin Monks fucking stage, that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's sort of their justification for bringing Stryker into it. Like, when him and Jax show up, climbing out of a helicopter that crashes, Jax basically gives a quick, we've been fighting other places, and I picked this guy up. And that's Stryker. That's his whole backstory. And then that's sort of the weirdness of the idea that it's a full-on MK3 style invasion kind of then feeds into the fact that when they go to stop the fighting, Shao Kahn walks out of a portal, physically sets foot on Earthrealm, which that
feels weird to me.
In the games, he's explicitly not allowed to do. That is
the one where, like, Jax and everybody was like shooting all the fucking Tarkatans and all this shit was going on.
Yeah.
Is that the same scene?
Yeah.
The scene starts with an army of. Okay, so the movie starts with a flashback to Tarkatans in the streets of, like, Hong Kong or some Chinese city, killing two parents with a baby, and Raiden shows up to rescue the baby, and the baby is Liu Kang. And so this is my first big question that the movie doesn't explain. Why were Tarkatans on Earth going after this specific family? Like, They establish in the movie that Liu Kang wasn't born the Chosen One. Raiden chose him during his training because he saw his pure heart. He
tells him this.
He wasn't like preordained from birth.
Because I chose you.
I mean, 30 seconds earlier, Raiden could have probably saved his parents too. But
this feels like more
Raiden's
cutting room floor material. That they were going to explain that, like, maybe Shao Kahn had a vision or could, like, see the soul of the Chosen One across the dimensions, so he sent a hit squad to go after him. But you never do get an answer as to why they know.
The actual impression I'm getting from the movie is that every once in a while, Tarkatans just get loose on Earthrealm. And the fact that Liu Kang's parents died this way is just a coincidence. Like, it's what led to him being trained to fight in Mortal Kombat tournaments, so it is like... It's a significant coincidence for him, but they weren't, like, hunting the Chosen One or something like that. It was just happenstance that they were there. Which raises the question...
It's how the story begins.
The question it raises is if it's not uncommon for random Tarkatans to get loose on Earth and chase people and Raiden has to show up and stop it, then how is the existence of Outworld and other dimensions not common knowledge? Like, wouldn't that expose the masquerade?
I think they were tracking his Arcana.
I don't think magic would be a secret if Tarkatans raiding Earth was semi-regular.
Those guys aren't ninjas. They're not subtle, dude. They get it fucking anywhere. They're gonna tear a place apart. Like,
yeah, so I thought that was weird. If personally, I would have, I don't know, set that scene in a forest instead of the city at the very least to make it more.
It was Batman.
Yeah, less Batman.
Less Batman. Yeah, less Batman.
Everyone's making the Batman comparison.
Plus,
orphans in an alley.
It's pretty dumb in my opinion.
For me,
I'm not a fan.
For me, Liu Kang was born in the 1970s, so I feel like it would be less likely to have been an urban environment that his parents lived in. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm stereotyping China, but that's just me. And obviously, like, the movie is set in the present day, not then. Like, Johnny has a cell phone.
I'm pretty sure Hunan Province has cities. It's fine.
Sure. I feel like... So, I always imagined that... Because Liu Kang being an orphan and being adopted by the White Lotus because his parents are dead, or the Shaolin Temple. Shaolin Temple and White Lotus are two separate things, but they're rarely treated as such. So, he was adopted by the Shaolin because his parents died in canon. That's been true since MK1. His bio said his parents are dead, and he's got a missing brother. I always imagined that, like...
Chan?
His parents were jumped on the road by bandits or something, you know?
Yeah, it could have been. What's really interesting to me, though, in the context of this movie specifically, because Raiden did show up at, like, just barely too late, it kind of makes me think that, like, what if Raiden let the Tarkatans kill his parents so he could take Liu Kang and train him to be chosen?
You know what?
I don't know.
That's definitely like a dark Raiden thing. That's not, especially this, because this version of Raiden is defined by his compassion and humanity, and that's why I like it, because that was supposed to be the point of Raiden. The reason he's the protector god and Fujin, or the earth god or the fire god, weren't named the protector god thousands of years ago when the elder gods created them, the reason they picked Raiden is because Raiden was the one who cared the most about human beings. And it's obviously different now. They've made Raiden stick up his ass weirdo, and Fujin is the one who cares about human beings, which raises the question, then why is Raiden the protector and not Fujin? But originally, Raiden was defined by being the most human of them, the most in touch with the people. So, again, that's why this version of Raiden is so good for me. Like,
he's okay. I was really thinking that scene where Shao Kahn comes through the portal and all that stuff with the guns. I was like, somebody's been like popping off snipes and like blowing Tarkatan's heads up and shit, like in the same scene.
Yeah.
Why don't they just shoot Shao Kahn?
Shao Kahn's probably bulletproof.
Dude, I mean, I don't know. I'd at least be trying. I don't know.
You know,
if,
I wouldn't mind a shot where somebody like Sonya or Stryker, like just by reflex, just tried it, just shot him.
Yeah.
Just to show that he's bulletproof and get it out of the way.
That would have been better. That would have been a lot better.
But I don't think that it breaks the movie not to have that. I think that would have been just like a cute little extra.
It doesn't break it, but it is a question of. It just makes me think like right before he showed up, it was bullet hell in there. They were conjuring the.
Well, Sonya was sniping, and then she got into melee when Jade was beating on Johnny, and she needed to rescue him. That she got into close quarters.
I would have liked to see that. Him being bulletproof or something like that.
Well.
But dudes, I got to drop off for the night, so I wish you all well. Thank you all our listeners for tuning in. Something's come up.
Okay.
Oh, all right, man.
Wish I could stay for the whole thing, but I got to go off and do stuff. Really wish I could, but
it's cool.
Fuck it. I've talked about smoke. That's the thing that makes me happy in the pants about this whole fucking movie. Welcome NRS generation to the good story, the best story, and have fun talking about those last 20 minutes because I'm still. It feels like an episode of X-Men. It's the only thing that confuses me.
It's just a lot. It's not that it's bad, it's just that it's a lot. Like, it's too much stuff.
It is very much like in the vein of like a big stupid ending that needs to be epic when it really doesn't need to be. And
yeah, it was very superhero movie.
Endings like that are starting to make me like zone the fuck out and feel like a vegetable, and it did not do anything.
There was one thing. There was one thing
in the movie points I want to make before I head off.
Go ahead.
2 quick points. Number 1, the fact that finally we get to see a difference between Shoukans in a set series of adaptations. Goro felt like a skilled martial artist, and Kintaro felt like brute fucking strength, the guy lifting up a whole tree and swinging it. Can't get enough of that kind of stuff. And number 2, Shinnok was creepy in a good way. Really good way.
I thought they did a great job with him. The voice reminded me a lot of when he's pretending to be a kind old man in mythologies. I really like that.
There's a bit of Gary Oldman Dracula in there, almost. Might be the teeth. I don't know.
Anyways, I've seen a lot of people posting screen caps, close-ups on his teeth, and how they look like Mr. Burns.
Oh.
I thought that was amusing.
Really?
But yeah, so I was saying the first weird thing that the movie doesn't explain is why there are Tarkatans after this baby. The second weird thing that the movie doesn't explain is why are there demons, why are there Netherrealm Oni among the army of Outworld that's attacking the Shaolin Temple? And there's no explanation given. And obviously, Shinnok and Shao Kahn are not working together. We know from the first movie that Shang, at least, was very against Shinnok getting his key back. These are people reasonable enough to know that if that guy gets any power, his goal is to end the universe, which means they can't conquer it and won't be alive, and those are bad things for them too. They're not on the same side. Why are there Oni? Why are there Oni in the Outworld army?
I told you, man. Those Oni were in that scene.
Yeah,
man.
No, you were right. There were Oni. They were there in the trailer. I was holding out hope that scene was about something else, because it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, there's never an explanation given for that, and we don't see Oni in Outworld once they go to the tournament. We only see Tarkatans. So that's the only time in the movie that there are Oni working for Shao Kahn. So
they needed a lot of assets.
I guess maybe it's they had some computer generated ones to fill out crowd scenes, and that's just what was on hand. I don't know. It's could have been better.
Could have been.
Although I do really like the bit where when the helicopter that Jax and Stryker are in crashes, and it crashes into the big Tormentor that's fighting Kung Lao, and it smears lava across the ground in a streak. That was a good lava streak.
I generally just enjoy that Stryker gets to do some cool shit, because I feel like any other writer would use Stryker as like a joke kill in like a very childish way, and I'm just happy that Stryker.
I think they gave Stryker an appropriate amount of screen time and enough to do, and yeah, they killed him, but it's one of the top 2 most gruesome and fucked up and memorable fatalities in the entire movie. And I thought that was... I loved that finisher.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
And obviously, like, it's straight out of the games. Shang has done that in MK9. But just the way they staged it so dramatically, where he slowly backs himself into a spike on the pillar, and then Raiden and the others realize what's about to happen, and they start going, no, it's very similar to the way Art Lean died in the 95 film, but obviously way more gory and fucked up. And as someone who's getting tired of fatalities in the games, and like just sort of desensitized to seeing the same finishing moves over and over and over again, this one still got me to feel something, and I think that's special.
Yeah,
special.
And obviously, similar feelings about Kung Lao being ripped in half, MK9 cinematic trailer style.
Yes.
I think the problem with the Kung Lao and Shao Kahn fight is it's too short. Lao doesn't really get any offense in, and he's killed with his own hat. Like, I'm a little tired of seeing people catch Lao's hat and hit him with it, because he has telekinetic control over it and can teleport it, so he should never be in a position where someone can catch his hat and hold on to it. He should be able to call it right back to himself, and he should never be in a position where if someone throws it at him, he can't just catch it. It's his hat. He's supposed to be the master of the hat.
It is a little dumb.
So I felt there were elements of the way Kung Lao died that felt, disrespectful. He was jobbed out.
Oh yeah.
But the gore factor, once Khan put his hands in the wound and spread him in half, and then the eye still twitching, gore-wise, impact-wise, I thought it was a good fatality use. I thought it worked well.
Also, I know a lot of people will say that they're a bit bummed out that Kung Lao doesn't really have a whole lot of screen time in this. Personally, I think it would have been very distracting if he did, because he's voiced by the MK11 Liu guy.
That's true.
Which is very weird.
It is noticeable. Like, from the moment Kung Lao enters the movie and starts talking, you're like, that's MK11 Liu. It sounds...
Isn't that the same dude
the same
that did
voice.
MK11 Fujin?
Yeah, but he's like doing a different thing for Fujin.
Yeah. His Fujin sounds different. Like I think his Liu Kang voice is, if not his natural speaking voice, it's very close to it. And he did basically
same voice he does for the Atom in Injustice 2.
And it is very much like the same voice he's doing for Kung Lao. It's a little distracting. That said,
a lot of the tournament fights in this are very short.
The entire first round is actually a montage. Like, when Li Mei and Baraka are eliminated, with Kintaro getting his arms ripped off by Jax, that whole sequence is basically a montage. It's just missing the 80s action music about exercising and being the best.
Molina hero.
And I'm okay with starting your tournament with a montage. I think, sometimes you got to get to the point.
You can do it in a montage.
I don't know that Baraka deserves a full fight, I don't know if Li Mei even needed to be in... Li Mei is in the movie, because originally that was going to be Molina. But Molina was going to have a lot of other scenes, like with Kitana and with Shao Kahn, because that's her fucking story. So, to cut all that for time, it would have been awkward to have Molina in the movie for only this one scene, and then she disappears and not address her story. So they cut that too and just made it Li Mei. Which
is... I can understand people being...
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Tim
awkward.
say anything about it? I know Tim loves it.
It's awkward because Li Mei is a good character, and she would never have worked for Shao Kahn in the actual lore, but if you just look at it as, here is one of the best warriors in Outworld, and Shao Kahn gathered the best warriors in Outworld, and, I don't know, maybe offered her something, like, I'll stop fucking up your village, or blackmailed her like, hey, I'm fucking up your village unless, we don't know. It's not that important. There are ways to explain what Li Mei is doing there. But
there is a moment when she's fighting Sonya where she's smiling. She's clearly enjoying the fight.
But...
Just weird. With that context, it's very weird.
I think she's smiling because she thinks she's winning, though, That's not actual personality. Lots of people smile when they're fighting. You can be a good guy character and still enjoy fighting.
Smiles can be for a lot of different things.
Yeah. I don't think it's important. Li Mei was totally filler. It could have been somebody else. Maybe it should have been somebody else, but I don't think it doesn't affect my score.
Right. Trying to think here. Yeah.
I don't know. I will say, one of the reasons the Lin Kuei and Scorpion parts of the movie are my favorite is not just because Cyber Smoke, Scorpion, and Kuai Liang are my favorite characters.
Or the games that it's not your favorite part. They're usually the favorite part.
Yeah. That is a reason, but another reason is because as much as I love seeing the MK2 tournament represented, all of the fights are very short. There's not a lot of back and forth sequences to really get you into the choreography.
They had to save time for that.
I think the Raiden and Reiko fight had some drama to it that was good. I think the final fight between Liu and Shao Kahn, and the fight before that, Liu and Shang Tsung, those were pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
But I really like...
Was Raiden already depowered by that point?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. Raiden fights Reiko in the first round without his powers. He fights Kitana in the second round without his powers, and technically Kitana beats him. But when Khan calls for finish him, Kitana throws her fan at Khan instead, and then Khan beats the shit out of Kitana and has her chained up. So the win must have gone to Raiden, Kitana must have been disqualified from the fight, because Raiden then fights again against Shao Kahn, and that's when he does the body torpedo, and then he gets his ass beat and his neck broken, and Liu watches him die.
That does remind me of one thing I liked about the thing, that specifically that fight between Raiden and Rico. What? How? Fuck off.
Reiko.
It's generally with an A, Reiko.
It is generally with the fucking A. I know. Reiko. I like seeing. I liked how often they used recognizable strings and attacks from the games. Not even just special moves, but whole combo strings. Raiden had one, or at least one. The one that ended up with the slam down the thing with his
the spin around the arm and choke into the ground.
Yeah. That stuff's nice. I like that they did that.
Yeah. They did some of that in the first movie too. I've always really appreciated that they animate combo strings. So one of the things I wanted to say that I like about how the tournament is portrayed is that I haven't charted it out so I don't know for sure that the bracket makes sense, but there appears to have been an actual bracket. Like, nobody fights twice in a row, nobody fights and loses off-screen, nobody loses but then fights again, except for Raiden, which doesn't count. None of the bullshit they pulled in MK9 with the tournament brackets happens in this movie. It appears that that they actually kept track of who was in it and when they got out of it. And that they actually made sure everybody was eliminated up to Liu Kang versus Shao Kahn. Yes. So I really want to commend that, considering the amount of time they had to work with, that they actually cared enough to have the tournament appear to be a functional tournament.
I agree as well, especially after Scorpion's Revenge, which was a little weirder.
It was a Hunger Games. It was a Hunger Games. It was not a tournament.
It was not, but this one definitely felt way more tournament-y.
Yeah. So I was really happy with that. But yeah, just a little disappointed that the fights were as short as they were. I actually, like, there's a lot of things where people are going to be like, oh, Kintaro got jobbed out. I actually really liked the fight between him and Jax, just because they did such a competent job of paying off the way Jax lost his arms in the first one. Like, it was a satisfying, complete arc.
I mean, it would have been more satisfying if he did that to the guy that did it to him.
Well,
I mean, like,
but that's never happened, right? Like, Jax has never gotten revenge on Ermac in the games. Like, he barely remembers that Ermac is the one who did it. And Cabal explicitly doesn't know who Kintaro is. Like, he doesn't care who burned him. He just, it was somebody in Shao Kahn's army.
I'll go faster.
It's Shao Kahn's fault. I gotta get Shao Kahn, not the guy who actually did it. It might as well have been a Tarkatan with a flamethrower. There's no reason it needed to be a named character.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, they did not. They didn't fuck up the bracket. They, I feel like every arc they set up, they paid it off. It's all just competently written, and I am so used to incompetent writing in this franchise that alone is enough for me to give like a positive score to a Mortal Kombat thing. Like, that alone is what gets you your 7 out of 10.
It would have been nice if they saved some of that time to do more shit there in the fight scenes and whatnot instead of the ending fight sequence thing. That would have been
yeah, that's the thing. Like,
fun.
if the final, like, Shao Kahn is defeated 20 minutes before the credits. The one being stuff takes up 20 minutes. If they had cut that, or if they had done, let's say, 10 minutes where Scorpion and Sub-Zero fight Shinnok and prevent him from using the Kamidogus as an ending instead, that's 10 more minutes they could have used to do longer fights or put Molina in. Although, on the subject of Molina, I will say, so obviously there's the element of, well, this is how it was in the source material, and I want it done correctly.
Yeah.
For me, I think, if you think about it, the reason Molina was created was, we hope Kitana doesn't turn on us, but in case she does. And then Molina existing kind of led...
in the game. Okay.
Yeah, in the original. Especially 9. Molina existing ended up being the reason Kitana turned. Which makes Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung look kinda stupid. So if you were starting over from scratch and you weren't trying to do a rote repetition of the original story, if you were trying to rewrite things in a way that makes sense, it might make more sense if they waited until after Kitana left to make a clone of her. Like, okay, she's gone, let's replace her, because I want I want one of her around, and that one's already out of my reach. It might make more sense to create Molina after Kitana goes rogue.
Yeah.
But if Molina had been in the movie, if they had stuck to their original plan, I have to imagine, because again, she was going to be where Lee May is. It sounds like she would have been there from the beginning, old timeline style, rather than created during MK9 style, which is a good thing. Or would have been if they'd done it. Either way, I'm pleased. Like, if the movie had Molina in it and they did the old timeline story, I'm pleased. If Molina's not in it and then they get a third one and they put Molina in the third one, I'll be pleased.
You'll never hear me complaining about a lack of Molina. Like, that was fine with me.
She has been severely overrated as a result of MKX. I don't think people realize, especially people who got into the series during the NRS era, I don't think they realize how unimportant Molina actually used to be. Like, there's a reason she wasn't in either 95 or Annihilation. She's basically an afterthought in Conquest, the TV show. She didn't show up in Defenders of the Realm. Back in the 90s, Molina was not a big deal. And I'm okay if we get back there again. Molina's, like, I don't hate her, but she's definitely not one of my favorite characters. And I'm sorry if she is one of yours, listener, and you are upset, but...
Are you?
Well, you know, I'm not... I'm sorry that they feel bad. You know? I'm not sorry for what I did or said. I'm sorry that it bothered them.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's that kind of sorry. It's the sorry, not sorry.
Okay, well, Molina aside, or lack thereof.
I'm just I have compassion for people who don't get to see their favorite character. Let's put it that way.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's fair. I feel that.
But narratively, I don't think the movie suffered for her absence. I do wish
No.
I wish Kitana, like, okay, you know, I wish Liu Kang and Kung Lao had gotten to interact. I wish the fights had been longer. Those are would have been nice. The thing I genuinely think would have improved the movie is if Liu Kang and Kitana had more interaction, because they go from her being on Khan's side, her turn, like, it's set up by what Raiden is saying to her, but it's still very quickly that she makes the decision. It feels a little sudden, and then the moment that Liu Kang unchains her from the pillar, she's giving him a kiss. That's a little sudden. That was
a little moving a little faster.
I feel like they could have talked a little bit before that scene to maybe earn the kiss.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the only really big complaint I have with the way the tournament played out. And then I really liked how the Liu and Shang fight went. The cursed arm was a creative little thing. The idea that Liu Kang is handicapped going into the final round, and that this is enough, like, this is the main thing that makes Raiden worried enough to be like, no, I'll fight Shao Kahn, and then, like, he dies for it. I just really liked the dynamic between Liu and Raiden this whole movie, where they're both worried for each other, and each one is sort of concerned that the other one can't. It's the father-son sort of dynamic between them. You know, they've tried to do this. At least they've tried to have Raiden say, Liu Kang and Kung Lao were like sons to me, and it pains me that they're revenants now in the games. And it felt hollow, because that's not at all how he acted in 9. But they really pulled it off between these two movies, making me actually feel how Raiden cares for Liu Kang, and conversely how Liu Kang cares for and worries about Raiden. So I thought they did a great job going the sequence of Liu versus Shang into Raiden versus Khan into Liu versus Khan. I really liked the little, like, the Shad brothers-y sort of bit where when Liu is down to one arm and he just sort of swipes his palm through the air and it cuts Shang Tsung's cheek from a distance with the wind.
That's so fucking cool.
That was pretty great. And then he breaks both of his knees. If you're gonna find the weak spot on an old man is the knees.
Sounds like you know from experience.
Oh, you could take me out that way right now, and I'm only in my 30s. You wouldn't even have to kick hard. Just tap it a little bit. I'm done.
Isn't that what Liu Kang says? It wasn't even that hard.
He says, when he goes to finish him and then lets him live, he says, "Live knowing that I beat you, and it wasn't even close." And like the tone of voice he says it is perfect. He starts walking away and then he throws in at the end, and it wasn't even close. And then
Enoch?
well, continuing on the Liu Kang sequence of fights,
Okay.
I thought it was really rad the way he sort of does the meditative thing, and the curse on his arm just flakes away, like it burns off. And then the movie goes Dragon Ball Z, and he bike kick, dragon kick, axe back down to the ground. They're like 1,000 feet in the air.
He turns into fucking the Human Torch there. Cinder.
They got a lot of airtime. That's maybe too much. Maybe they were a little too high above the arena. That was a bit of a bit more exaggerated than I needed it to be.
One detail I liked about the arena is that it had like the original MK2 like boxes with the like spikes on top.
Oh yeah. We talked about this when we reviewed the trailer. The design of the Colosseum is a hybrid between 9 and the original MK2. And the MK2 elements in it, I think, look really good. Like, I love how they combined the two versions of Shao Kahn's throne, so it's got, like, the goat skull over top, but then it has the regular chair under the skull with the 3 points coming off each side.
Mm-hmm.
I did think it was a little awkward that, like, the posts to chain up prisoners are there, but Kitana wasn't chained to one of those. She was chained to a different pillar.
Yeah.
But that's fine. So so Liu Kang shoots Shao Kahn 1,000,000 feet into the air and then brings him crashing down. And then the Elder Gods show up and they're like, "Well, congratulations on the A-plot, but by the way, something way more important has been happening. And, here, take our powers." And this is the point where the pacing really becomes a problem. And just So when it comes to the final battle with the one being / corrupted Shinnok, however you want to describe the form we're seeing here. So obviously, we've talked several times on different episodes about how you shouldn't ever actually have a character fight the one being. You can't really make him a boss in a game, because
if he wakes up, the universe is gone.
If the one being exists, the universe will immediately cease to. So they sort of cheated around that by having the one being have to suck up the universe physically, like bits at a time. Like he's pulling rocks and chunks of buildings and stuff into his hands, and while he's doing this, you can interrupt and fight him. I didn't need that, but I understand. if you think of it less as the one being and more as corrupted Shinnok, it's easier to swallow. Because you do see, like, when the Kami Dogu combine and form, like, a silhouette of light, that silhouette then, like, draws into Shinnok's body and, like, possesses him. And that's why the final form looks like a giant corrupted Shinnok.
I was a little disappointed that there's no fight between Shinnok where he gets to use, like, the bone hand powers.
Yeah, that was a shame. The one thing I did like about the fight is that we got to see Liu Kang turn into a dragon, and it didn't look stupid. You know, like, it didn't...
Yeah.
It was flying.
Obviously, we've seen a movie before where Liu Kang turns into a dragon in order to have the final fight, and it does not work because he's small and he's like... They tried to keep the dragon like the shape of a human body, fighting with its hands and standing on its feet, and...
I don't know what movie you're talking about. Could you name the movie?
No.
It may have had James Remar in it. How many of those do you know about?
I know 3.
Well,
Can you narrow it down for me?
keep trying. Keep thinking about it. Never give up hope.
He's flying a lot. Flying dragons. Without wings.
Right, so that's the thing. It's the MK2 Chinese dragon design. It just happens to be kaiju sized, which...
But it doesn't have legs or
No, it had legs. It had arms and legs. It's the MK2 dragon. It had
arms and legs?
It had arms and legs.
Damn it, I can't check. You already deleted it.
Well,
you're probably right.
No, it is literally the design of the MK2 dragon. It's just that most of the time we see it, it's flying through the air all serpentine. It's not standing up. But it is in fact the MK2 dragon. And there's a part of me that wonders if it's more believable because it's kaiju sized. Like, if he had turned into an only 7-foot tall dragon to fight Shao Kahn, would I have been okay with it? And I'm not sure. Because obviously, like, I'm imagining it, and I don't have any actual, something to compare it to. But I also feel like the reason he can turn into a dragon, because obviously none was ever given in the games. It's just, well, he's the chosen one, so his animality, because everybody has an animality, his happens to look like the MK logo, which is not a real explanation. So the fact that he can turn into a dragon because the Elder Gods, who are dragons, gave him their power, that makes more sense to me. And it almost makes me wonder if you were retelling the original MK3, and obviously 9 ends with the Elder Gods doing that to Raiden. If the Elder Gods did it to Liu Kang instead, that might be a perfectly fine way to end MK3. Like, that might not necessarily violate the lore. Because again, the message is, well, Shao Kahn is breaking the rules of Mortal Kombat. He's trying to merge realms outside of the tournament. The Elder Gods should step in. So, yeah, if I was rewriting MK3, if I was telling my version of MK3, I might have that be the way it ends, that the Elder Gods possess or give their power to Liu Kang, and that explains why he can turn into the dragon.
Is that what Raiden did in MK9?
Yes. I mean, he didn't turn into a dragon. He was
didn't
like
turn into a dragon.
Surrounded by glowy dragons, and he shot dragons as fireballs.
Right.
And then the dragons were like tiny things, like leeches biting on Shao Kahn. It looked kind of dumb.
Toothless worms.
I think it would look a lot less dumb if it was Liu Kang's animality instead of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was just happy to see the dragon, and that made me forgive some elements of this big dumb ending that the movie didn't need to have. And like, I don't hate it. It didn't ruin the movie for me. It took it from a 9 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, and I still consider a 7 a good score. Like, I still like this movie. Like, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a 7.5. And honestly, 7.5 or 8 is the rating I would give Scorpion's Revenge. They're almost a tie, and I like them both. I like them a lot more. And again, I keep saying it. I compare everything to 9. Is it closer to the original source material than 9 was? Is it more satisfying than 9 was? Is it more competent than 9 was? That's where my benchmark is, because so many people consider 9 the, if not definitive, because we've never seen a cutscene version of the original 1 through 3. If we had, that would be the definitive, obviously. But we haven't. So 9 is the closest we have. And a lot of people in the fandom swear by 9 and liked 9 and think that this is what things should look like. And I just...
But they don't know
these two movies are way better than that. These two movies are way closer to 1 through 3 than that.
I don't know that they're watching the new 52 Mortal Kombat. It's just like, this is Mortal Kombat, I guess. This is the way.
Yeah.
Listen, man.
Tim
Drake used to be cool.
I feel bad for people who are too young to have been there with the originals and to know what they're missing out on. I feel bad for people who think 9 and X are... Or maybe just 9. Like, a lot of people have problems with X, a lot of people have problems with 11. Everybody's opinions are different, but commonly they all like 9. If they like the new timeline at all, they like 9. I feel bad for those people that they don't know what they're missing, that they're not aware of how much more sense things used to make, how much better things used to be in terms of telling a coherent story and a satisfying story and closing arcs that you start and using characters rather than just throwing them away.
Like I said, I'll always take New Timeline to Scorpion over the other one.
Well, again, to me, New Timeline Scorpion is just MK2 Scorpion. Like, everything people compliment the Hanzo version for is... I've always felt... I've seen it before, and I like it, but I've seen it before. What are you guys excited about?
That's not how I ever read the stuff in Mortal Kombat 2.
Right, I know. Everybody has a different childhood memory.
even outside of that, though, like, we got to see him be kind of a father.
Well,
again,
yes, that is
really
new.
Nice.
Like, the stuff with Takeda is new content, and I like that stuff.
It's really good.
I will say that. In fact, probably the only things in the new timeline that I like are A, they actually let Johnny and Sonya hook up, and B, Takeda.
I like that Johnny beats Shinnok. Fucking dude never does anything. I'm glad he got a second there, even if it was whatever.
Yeah, like I get it. I get it. I would give him a sub boss to give him a moment, you know? Like, maybe... Well, 4 didn't have a sub boss. Fuck. I mean, Goro was there, but Kung Lao deals with him. I've always, like... I think Shinnok should be beaten by Raiden or by...
Well,
I don't know, Scorpion and Sub-Zero as a
Raiden
team,
was out of order.
or by... Honestly, I think Kai would have been an acceptable choice at the time because they were,
he would have.
You know, that would have actually paid off the idea of Liu Kang having a student.
Yes, it would have.
But like, I wouldn't give Shinnok to Johnny Cage. That seems a little left field. Like, I don't know. Before X, the two didn't really have a connection to each other. I think Johnny is more of a, I don't know, Motaro maybe. I mean, Shiva kills Motaro in the old timeline. There's so many characters who are already doing a thing, and it's set in stone. And that is one of the interesting things about when you reboot. You can maybe give characters things they couldn't have before. And so yeah, there are not always negatives to rebooting. Like I said, I like that they got to do Johnny and Sonya. I like Takeda existing. I like... Well, like I said, if the third movie starts with them creating Molina now, after Kitana has betrayed Shao Kahn, that makes a lot more sense than doing it while she's around, because you're afraid she'll turn, and then because Kitana is already a grown-ass adult, when she meets her clone, she's like, why the fuck did you clone me? And that causes her to turn. You know, that's dumb.
It's defective.
So she either needs to be young and impressionable when she meets Molina, or Molina needs to be created after she's gone. The middle ground is uninhabitable there. You can't tell a story like 9 did it. It doesn't fucking work. So yeah, that's, again, with the movie.
Yeah.
If you don't have this backstory where Bi-Han had this unfinished mission that Kuai Liang is being sent to finish, Kuai Liang needs a reason to get into things. And I am cool with that reason being to avenge his brother. As long as once he gets to Scorpion, he's talked down and him and Scorpion make peace. That's the important thing. It's not the starting point that matters to that story. It's that you get the scene where the two of them talk and Scorpion explains himself and Sub-Zero lets him live and even is willing to team up with him.
Did we cover all of the movie already? Was that all of it?
I think we covered all the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, the movie ends with, there is one thing we didn't cover. So, after the big One Being is defeated fight, like, Liu Kang absorbs the One Being's energy, and then, like, flies out into space and separates the realms that were merging, and frees Edenia too, just for the hell of it. And, I don't know, I guess he spent the power, like, redistributed the One Being's energy back into the universe, or whatever. So, if you listen to the commentary, they deliberately play coy about whether or not Liu Kang still has the powers of the Elder Gods. Like if they were to get a third one, they'd be like, well, maybe you'll find out then whether he gave up the power or if he still has it. That said, we are left with a couple teases for a potential sequel. A, Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn are still alive. B, we see Raiden's silhouette, like, watching from the stands at the very end, like, the last shot of the movie. Like, he's back to life somehow. Maybe Liu Kang brought him back or something, but maybe it's Dark Raiden. It's probably Dark Raiden. He turns dark every time he comes back. That's how it works in this universe.
That's how it works. It's like that predestination in Mortal Kombat. It does exist somewhat.
There are just certain things that this is how it works. Smoke being a robot, Smoke being the most important robot, is just how it works. Kuai Liang and Scorpion ending up friends is just how it works.
God, the tea party.
Bi-Han has to die. Liu Kang has to win the tournament. Raiden has to die and come back evil. He just has to do it. It's part of the pattern now. So
Smoke ending up in a fucking corner somewhere. In the
well, yeah.
Netherrealm
So that's another thing.
Either way,
we see the demons kill the Grandmaster. Shinnok's demons kill the Grandmaster, Sector, and Cyrax. They rip them apart, but we don't actually see Smoke die. He gets an arm bit off, but the last we see him, he's still alive and fighting. So he's still alive down in the Netherrealm. And we didn't see Noob Saibot in this movie. But we did see Shinnok summoning demons out of very Noob Saibot-like black smoke. I felt like that was a deliberate hint or connection to what his powers are going to be when he becomes Noob Saibot. I think if they do a third one of the subplots has to be, okay, Shinnok is dead and gone. Quan Chi is dead and gone. Noob Saibot shows up to take over the Netherrealm, and he's going to do it Deception style with Cyber Smoke. And I know there are a lot of people out there who didn't like the Noob Smoke stuff. I never had a problem with it, because the theoretical end of the Noob Smoke story is that Smoke gets his free will back.
Yeah, that didn't bother me.
You know, it doesn't last forever. Smoke ends up becoming his own character again. That's the happy ending you want to see.
I think the reason people don't like it is because they had to share a character slot.
Well, yeah, it's gameplay stuff. I didn't really.
Yeah, that's why.
I didn't care about that
well
because
these
I
days.
liked their tag team moves. I thought they had cool gameplay.
Yeah, I agree. That gameplay could have been really, 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 really cool.
I mean, it obviously would have
never
been
wanted to-
even better if they had full separate movesets and the game just
Yeah.
had tag, and everybody had tag in and tag out attacks like they did. That would have been better, but limited technology. It was their first time trying such a thing. I like Noob Smoke. I thought it was a successful experiment. And story-wise, I love it, and I hope to see it in the third one. So I hope we get Noob Smoke and Dark Raiden and some combination of Sindel's resurrection with, I don't know, something else to make MK3 more interesting. Because the big problem with the ending is, now that you've had a kaiju battle with the one being while 5 realms are merging at the same time, now that you've done that, it's impossible to top. The third movie is going to be smaller than the end of the second movie. It's going to be weird. That's not how trilogies are supposed to work.
Where do you go after the fucking one, dude?
So the only thing I can think of is they're going to have to somehow combine the plot of MK3 with Armageddon. You know, they're going to have to use the fact that Edenia is free to justify, bringing Sindel back also causes the pyramid to rise and the world is going to end. I don't know how you do it. That's all I can think of, though.
Yeah.
And that said, again, the reason that they went so big with the ending of this one is because they had a 2-picture deal. There's no guarantee there's going to be a third movie.
Oh, yeah. That's very intuitive to pick up from watching
They could get a third movie if the second one does good numbers.
Like, it wears it very plainly that they're like, listen, we may not get another chance. Kitchen sink this shit at the end. Everybody's going in.
So, but on the good news side of the spectrum, if there isn't a third movie, we do have reports that there will be an MK animated series being produced for HBO Max. And there's been speculation that series might be set in a universe that already exists, like maybe it'll be a continuation of these, or maybe it'll be connected to the live-action film we just had. I don't think either of those are very likely. If you look at Warner Brothers' history with movies and animated spin-offs, they're almost never do they do an animated thing that's in the same universe as another thing. They almost always let the showrunner of the animated thing make his own take. Like, you look at Batman the Animated Series, came immediately after 89 and Returns, but was heavily inspired by Tim Burton, but was not in the same continuity. It was its own thing. Started over from the beginning.
It depends on who's producer.
Yeah.
If what's his fucking name is
Don't say
producer, I don't remember the fucking name.
If
he's producer, you can expect a character to show up, whether it's connected or not.
I mean, that guy wasn't the producer on these things, so it's obvious that he doesn't have umbrella control over the entire MK franchise.
I actually don't know who you guys are talking about.
That Garner guy, the guy who made 2021.
Garner, okay.
Yeah. He seems to only be involved with that one live-action corner of things. It's not like he's, he doesn't strike me as like a Steven Spielberg who's like, yeah, I like cartoons, so I'm gonna be the producer on Tiny Toons and Animaniacs and all this stuff. I don't think he gives a shit about cartoons. I think the cartoons are gonna be their own separate thing.
I hope so.
And again, like, WB has just never done that. Like, except for one-off DVDs like the Animatrix and what was that Batman thing called? Gotham Knights? It was an anime
Yeah.
anthology,
Anime, yeah.
but it was in the Christopher Nolan continuity, or at least it treated itself as being in the Christopher Nolan. Obviously, the Nolan movies ignored it. It's very much like how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thinks it's in the MCU, but the MCU doesn't think it is.
Right.
Yeah. So, generally speaking, Warner Brothers never does that with animated series. So I think it's going to be its own separate thing, starting over from the beginning. I think we'll see like some MK1 stuff again with that. And especially like if I was involved in these two movies and then I got an animated series, that's what I would do anyway. I would start over because all of the flaws in these two movies are related to the amount of time they had. If they have more time and they can take it slower, they should do it over and do it right.
Let me tell you a story about Warner Brothers.
All right, here we go.
They don't do that. That's not what they do. Give us more time and resources. Fuck you.
Well, no, I mean, with an animated show, you automatically have more time than a 120-minute movie.
You would think.
You automatically
yes, like as far as runtime goes, that's what I'm saying. But like
runtime. That's if you have runtime.
Yeah.
Spend season 1 on the MK1 tournament and cover all the bases. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Just do it.
That's what I would do. Even if I made Scorpion's Revenge, I'd do MK1 again anyway because I have more time now.
I mean, yeah, it's a thing.
So.
That's the thing.
I think we covered all the bases. Can either of you think of anything left to say about Battle of the Realms that we haven't already said?
Sound effects I liked.
Sound effects were good.
I really liked it whenever they were punching cyborgs. It sounds
I was gone for a minute.
The cyborg sounds in general, like the voices, the Foley work, everything about them was just chef's kiss. They sounded so close to the MK3 noises. They fucking.
That was good shit.
These are the Cyber Ninjas I want to see. This is how it should be done.
I was gone for a minute, so I don't know if this is addressed, but I really like that I really like that they incorporated the wind stage from Mythologies.
The what?
They had a version of it. I felt like it was
the wind stage from Mythologies, Jango. That's what I said.
The wind stage from
they had some bridges made of ice with wind blowing them up, and they did a cool thing where they jump off a bridge and let the wind carry them to a higher bridge.
Yeah, I remember that.
It felt to me like the spirit of the wind stage combined with some of the visuals of the pit 2.
It did.
Because like, the actual wind stage is all wooden platforms. And there's windmills and...
You're jumping on the Reeses.
Rickety planks. I did think it was kind of amusing that, like... None of the element gods show up to protect the Temple of the Elements.
Yeah.
Which,
I mean,
Also, like, there's a weird line at the end where after the One Being is beaten and Liu Kang stops glowing and returns to normal size, he says some line about how there are no gods or tournaments anymore. And I'm like, does that mean that when the Elder Gods gave you their powers, they died? Where did they go? How, you didn't just release them back into the universe? Shouldn't they still be around? I don't know how it works.
That's weird.
Unanswered question.
See you next time.
But I think that's everything.
I loved how when they showed the Kamidogus, they just literally used the design. They didn't feel the need to like do the daggers or reinvent anything. It's just, hey, I recognize those. They look the way they're supposed to look.
They did.
Although there was some size changing, like Transformers style goofiness, because when they grab the Kamidogu, it like fits into Cyrax's chest and it becomes really, really tiny inside his chest. It's just cartoon weirdness. Size of things is always like consistency. with proportions is always a bit of a problem. Especially, the Cyber Ninjas were really beefy.
They were.
Sub-Zero and Smoke were fucking yoked
Smoke
even
was
before.
Crazy, dude. Smoke was like a football player. It was nuts. And the smallest
big.
head.
Pretty big. Maybe too big. I don't know.
Bitch was swole.
I really appreciated the design for. The movie never calls him Oniro. Like, that's never been his official name. That's just in the Defenders of the Realm. But I always call him Oniro. In my head, that's his name.
That should be his fucking name.
It's a good name. Not... It rolls off the tongue nicely. It's a solid name.
Ooh.
The Grandmaster.
Oh.
The Lin Kuei Grandmaster. I thought...
I remember him.
They nailed his design. I like that, like, he looks like Mythologies, but with the mask off, and he's got a Fu Manchu.
Yeah, I miss the mask. It's a thing. I like masks.
I like Fu Manchus. I like when you know he's an old man.
He was good. I wouldn't complain about it. It was good.
I thought one of the most amusing lines in the movie is they go to give Shinnok the Kami Dogu and they don't know he's Shinnok.
Yeah,
and
that was
the Grandmaster like realizes it mid-sentence. And then
he's
Shinnok
he's not even in disguise. Like, that makes it even funnier. You're Shinnok.
Wait, if Shinnok gets his hands on all you're Shinnok.
Well
also,
done.
I found it weird that they know that story, that they know about the Kami Dogu.
It seems like
that they know about the one being. It's weird.
A well-known myth in this version of the MK universe. It's just part of the. I have to like. There's an element of Mortal Kombat where because you want it to feel like the real world. At least in the early games. You want characters like Johnny and Sonya to feel like you can relate to them and they're coming from the same world you're from, and that when they learn the lore, you're learning the lore, and that it's all like this secret stuff, like nobody knows which gods are real. So maybe Christianity actually exists in that world, and obviously like it's not true, but it's what people believe. I think it might feel more natural if more people believed in the MK religion in a world where the MK religion is real. Like, if Raiden is actually hanging out with people in person, and like he's around often enough that he basically raised a child from a baby, like Liu Kang treats him like a father. If he's around mortals that often, more people should have heard of him.
I think so.
It's the same way I feel about if there are random Tarkatans attacking people in cities, more people should believe in magic.
I mean, look at Thor, the MCU. Fucking everybody believes in him really fast.
Yeah. One Thor showing up was not subtle, and people got used to it real quick.
They got really used to it.
I don't know. It might feel more natural if a take on the MK universe had less of the gods' doings be secrets and more of them being, oh, I've heard that story. I've heard that legend. I didn't know it was true, but I've heard it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Like if I ever found a sword in a stone, I'd be like, oh, I've heard of Excalibur. I didn't think it was real, but here it is.
Must be it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I did like Shinnok making fun of the Grandmaster. Like, now you see what happens when you do mercenary work. most of the people who hire you are going to be bad guys.
It's a thing. Did you guys give your reviews? I mean, not your reviews, like a score.
Yeah, I said a 7.5 out of 10.
Smokeman, what did you say?
I say 6.5.
It feels a little harsh to me, but go ahead.
This is tough.
It's a half a point off from yours.
It's a full point off. 6.5 and 7.5 are a full number apart.
I thought you said 7.
I 7.5.
Oh God. Okay. This is tough. I think I agree with Pot. Me, Pot, and D4 watched it at the same time. I got those scores.
Just say you give it a 4.
Are both 3 out of 10, and D4 was 4 or 3. I don't remember. Let me check. 3.
Alright, well.
Damn, 3 out of 10. It's a thing.
I'm just not in love with this one as I was the first one.
What do you think your score would be without the one being ending?
It depends on what replaces it and what gets more time. That's a very complicated question.
How?
Let's assume that the ending that's in place instead is Scorpion and Sub-Zero just beat up Shinnok and stop him from combining the 6 Kamidogu. Like imagine it's a big 5 to 10 minutes of fighting, and then they kill him, and but it's not 20 minutes like the one being thing is. And also, like, we don't see Liu turn into a dragon. Maybe we can save the dragon more for the third one if we don't do it. Like, what would that be the score then?
I think that'd probably be a 7.5, yeah.
Okay. What is holding it back for you? What would it take to get it to say a 9? I'm just curious. I'm just curious because
what do I gotta do to get you into this car today?
Well, Smokeman has weighed in the least. I'm curious to know
all right.
exactly what about it is bringing it down.
I think it's a lot of the tournament kind of being short.
Okay. So like fights would have brought up the score.
Longer fights would have, I think, more like in-betweens in the fights, you know? Like, more, like, time to breathe between them.
Okay.
Like, there's
I
that
can-
one
I can see
scene,
that, 'cause
there's
again,
that
like-
one scene... There's that one scene where they go to bed and shit, and there's a bit with the striker. Like that's there, but like,
Yeah,
it
you know what?
feels very breakneck between one fight to the next fight to the next fight. Like
The only so Lou and Raiden get a lot of time together, so that their relationship feels properly paced. Johnny and Sonya get a lot of time that their relationship feels very drawn out and takes its time to get to the end point.
They're just nuts.
The kind of scenes that Johnny and Sonya have together, I think if Liu and Katana had the same types of scenes between fights,
oh, that would have been great.
That
They
would
would
have
have
really
had
brought
fucking
up the
sex
score.
instead. They would have already been like down to that thing. Just fucking pull her off that shit and let's go. Middle of the Coliseum. Those guys move fast.
Well, all right, you said that.
Yeah, I did, man.
Okay.
Dude, they didn't have any preamble to that. Just the fucking kiss at all.
Well, I'm suggesting if there had been some preamble.
Oh, you're talking about that. You're talking about that. Oh God.
Yes, I'm saying if they
that
had
was
done
not
a build up,
apparent. That was not apparent.
if they had those two had a build up similar to like whatever you said about the other ones, Johnny and Sonya, then these two just would have fucked right there at the Coliseum at the end. They would
No,
go
see,
beyond
you're
that.
assuming the same rush. The point is you keep the kiss the same, and you give them more scenes before the kiss to get to the
Listen.
kiss.
You're just talking about them fucking out of nowhere, and I'm like, what
He's
the
shit
hell
posting.
is that
He's-
coming
fucking-
from?
He's
Then
shit posting.
again,
He's cracking a joke.
She is an Edenian, but listen, this is serious. Edenians love that shit. I think that's a good thing
Do
to keep
they,
in mind.
or is that
I
just
would
for-
actually, I haven't met an Edenian that isn't into that shit.
I think
You're still joking, sir.
No, dude. I don't think. I think Katana kisses.
I
she
don't
wants
think
as fast as she
I don't
loves.
think Tanya and Rain speak for the entire race. All right.
I mean, you know, Sindel, Molina, they all fucking talk
No,
about
so
fucking the whole
you're thinking
time,
of
dude.
like evil Sindel. That doesn't count.
she's evil more than she's whatever. The other thing, actually, I don't know about time. Don't ask me that question. Edenians, man.
You brought it up.
All right,
Edenians.
all right. We got some jokes. We're past the jokes. So yeah, I obviously liked it a lot. Some people not so much. I think we're done here. Are you guys okay
Well
with
done,
us being done here?
Well done, gentlemen.
okay
Good
with-
job.
Us being down here.
Good job.
All right.
We did a good job.
All right. Good night, everybody. We
Good
will
night.
have. we will soon be recording more Marvel stuff. Jango and I are going to watch some What Ifs. Probably talk about Shang-Chi.
Yes.
Shad has been working on editing some video together for our next Lost. So whenever he's done with that, we'll be able to do that. Don't we still have a patron cast waiting for you to edit it, Smokeman?
Yes, we do.
Alright. I just wanted to make sure, because that was recorded in, like, February.
I know.
I know how that feels.
Alright. So I just wanted to put all that out there so people know the channel isn't dead. There's still stuff.
No. Content's on the way.
Yeah. So look forward to that. And good night, everybody. And if you didn't enjoy Scorpion's Revenge or Battle for the Realms, my advice is really just compare them to 9 and then compare 9 to the old timeline. It might put some things in perspective for you.
Or just go play the old games.
You could just play the old games. I mean,
yeah, that's always fine.
It's getting harder and harder to get your hands on. For example, some remasters of the 3D era, specifically Shaolin Monks, might be nice. Ed, I know your Big Daddy Warner won't let you do it, but
no, they won't let anybody do it.
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
I'm just saying. If anybody's listening, there's an audience for that.
Yep.
All right. See you later, nerds.
Night, everybody.
Later.
You're still trying to win?